What is going on, everyone? In today's video, we will be discussing how to get to 100K per month, six figures per month, and a common notion that it's very hard to get there and it takes a while. Yes, it's hard, but it's simple. With the right systems and things in place, the right systems team in place, the right acquisition channels, it is very, very simple to get to 100K per month. And it doesn't take very long either. Me and Zach have personally scaled up companies from 0 to 6 figures in 2 months alone. We've helped our clients do the same thing in 3, 4, 5 months. So if you have the right systems in place, you can easily get to 100K per month. Honestly, within a year, when you say that's just like on
Yeah.
the low end, and then just a few things, a few topics we'll be going over. Your mindset, the mindset to actually hit those six-figure months, your acquisition strategies, your offer development, your sales teams. We'll be going over essentially the whole 9 yards. Everything you need to know in order to hit those 100K months. And our whole goal with this video is for you to listen to this whole thing, and then afterwards, within the next 7 to 10 days, we want you to take the information, implement it, and make 20 to 30K within the next 7 to 10 days. And that would be our mission done. So yeah, and then I'll let Zach take over, just a little bit
Yeah.
about our results.
Yeah. I mean, as far as some of the results we've gotten numerous results. We've helped hundreds, if not probably even thousands of businesses scale up to, probably realistically thousands to 10K a month, probably 50 to 100 to 100K a month. Maybe even not directly on that side, but being able to help them through coaching their coach or coaching their consultant. Like, there's a lot of different things that we've done. We've scaled Alex Sedlak, for example, from 0 to 80K a month and then upwards to like 500K a month. That 0 to 80 was in the first month working with him. Second month, we hit what? 100K, 120K, something like that.
120K.
Yes, about 120K. And then we took him up to 500K a month within like 4 or 5 months, something like that. So he obviously has printed money with his offers. We added an extra 120K in revenue to an accounting firm. We did over 500K LTV projected for that company as well. And that's direct revenue. That's not just like, hey, these are all their clients that they got. That's direct revenue traced back to what we did for them, right? We've also worked with tons of other big influencers: Sam Millsap, Riz Cam, Charlie Cochran, Evan Merger. We've worked with tons of influencers. Noah Stancati, if you know who that is. We've helped countless people scale up their business. We've also helped people scale up to growth agencies. So people who do what we do, they go out, they find creators, they find people, and they scale with them. They help them scale. So we've helped hundreds of growth partners as well, easily hundreds, basically scale up as well. So also run a few software companies. We run a few companies at the moment. We run a consulting business. We're all over the board, and we have a lot going on. But that's just a little bit of social proof on us. I know a lot of people are gurus. They go out there, they talk, 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 and they don't actually do. Right? Our goal is to put the doing first. Right? We put all the stuff that we're actually going to go out and do, and we put the results first. And again, the results speak for themselves. There's so many people that haven't actually done the business model that they're teaching, who go out there and try to teach, whatever they teach, without actually having experience from it. And they're getting rich off of teaching things instead of off of just like actually doing the thing. So that's kind of one of the main reasons that we're getting out of the influencer space, or slowly migrating out. Kind of because of that reason. There's so many people that just are doing stuff claiming that they have done a business model that they've never done before, that they've actually never gotten results for even. Um, and they get one person a result, and now they have all these results, and it's so easy to get to 100K a month. It's, the easiest business to scale is going to be the one that you stick to. If anyone sticks to a business model for, a year, 5 years even, I could comfortably say anyone who sticks to a business model for 5 years or above should be doing around 100K a month if they are actually pushing as hard as as they should be. And again, that's not a guarantee. That's not for everyone. Going to 100K a month, quite frankly, isn't for everyone. It's all about what kind of mindset you have, what you want to do. I've seen so many people who just don't want to scale up to that point. But it does get stressful, right? Like, you got to hire team members, you got to bring in new softwares. Your software stack gets to be immeasurable. Um, there's so many different things like that are variables that change when you hit those 100K months or even more. Like there's a big difference between doing 100K a month and 500K a month. Um, and we've experienced that growth firsthand as well. So there's a bunch of different things in mindset.
Yeah, even going off of that, um, in this video, we're going to be throwing a lot of information at you. You're going to realize that there's a lot of things that you have to fix if you want to get to that 100K per month mark. And our goal is to scare a few of you away. That might sound mean, harsh, whatever you want to call it. Like he said, most people are not built for getting to 100K per month. And if you watch this whole video and you realize there's two things that are going to happen. You're A, going to realize there's a lot of things I have to do. Let's get to work. Or B, you're going to realize there's a lot of things to do. Fuck this. I'm out. I'm not doing this. It sounds like too much. So for those second people, we want to scare you away with this. But for those first people, you implement the things that we tell you to do. 100K will be, I mean, it'll be simple. It'll be fast, and it'll be very rewarding as well.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. I mean, it's really all the same for everyone, right? Like, obviously, this video is somewhat generalized, but the system for scaling to 100K a month is pretty much the same for any business. System to scale at any point, pretty much the same from a high level perspective, right? There's basically four things that you worry about. There's marketing, which is putting your product in front of people, getting visibility on those products and getting eyeballs on that product. Two is taking that product and turning those eyeballs into it, like turning the attention into assets, basically closing those deals up front. Three is going to be delivery, like service delivery, and actually like being able to deliver a good service so that people continue to come back. They refer their friends, they bring other people in, and you're able to do delivery based marketing, which is part of the first one. And then also there's team building, right? There's the way that you actually build the team in a way that is scalable so that you can take it to that 100K a month. Um, and part of it, it's not like you have to have a huge team. Having a huge team is low-key an ego thing. Like I was watching a podcast of someone like 2 days ago doing $1 million a month. Well, he actually helps businesses go to $1 million a month, and he has like 38 people doing $1 million a month. So we're doing the math. He's probably doing, off of what we can tell, probably around 4 mil a month, somewhere in there on the low end, around 4 mil a month. And at the end of the day, he's got 8 employees. He's got 8 team members. So like, you don't have to have this wild team. You just have to have the right team to go to that point. But scaling a business is the same from any point, right? Whether you're scaling it from 100K to 500K, 500K to a million, whatever point you're scaling it to is pretty much all the same, right? You look at those 4 pillars, you find the bottleneck in those 4 pillars, meaning the thing that holds up all the other things, right? If you're not getting enough leads in, well, your sales system doesn't really matter. If you're not selling anybody, your delivery system doesn't matter. If you're not actually getting people through that pipeline and through that funnel, you don't really need a team, right? You need to focus on what the actual bottleneck is. One thing that I've done a lot is I've hired team members too early. For example, we had a video editor. We were going to bring on a second video editor. We already have one that's full-time that we pay a good bit of money. He does all of our editing for everything. And we were going to bring in a second one because I thought that he was at capacity. But it turns out he's still able to do the other stuff as well, and he wasn't actually at capacity. So again, don't try to scale the wrong part of your business, right? Look at the business, figure out where that bottleneck is, then solve for that one problem, right? Solve that one problem first before you look at the other 3 things. And if you can solve that one problem, another bottleneck will pop up somewhere else, but it will free this one, right? So scaling a business is basically just looking at bottlenecks and solving that bottleneck and then being able to elevate to that next bottleneck so that you can solve that one. And it's just a constant loop. And that's pretty much what the mindset of an 100K a month business is, right? And it's the same thing for your clients. You have to look at what are the problems that you're solving for them? What's the bottleneck that they have and how can you solve that? Whether it be if you're selling B2B, if you're selling to other businesses, what is the bottleneck that they have, right? And that's how you build a really, really killer offer. I mean, there's a lot of things that I could say about offer. The big thing is just solve the biggest pain point. The offer is the most important part, in my opinion. Even though it's not one of those 4 pillars, it does act as all 4 of those pillars. It's a part of all 4 of those pillars. If you don't have a good offer, you're not going to be able to actually get that in front of other people, right? If you don't have a good offer, you're not going to be able to sell it. And if you don't sell it, you can't deliver it. And if you don't deliver it, you can't really scale because you can't hire a team because you don't need a team. So the offer at the end of the day is the foundation of everything else that you do. Um, and I mean, you can even say like all the offers, the offer really impacts the business in so many different ways.
Yeah, absolutely. And going back a bit to the mindset, as a business owner, if you truly believe that you have the best offer, the best service out there, then you have an obligation to sell your service. And like Zach said, if you have a terrible offer, you're not able to sell it, and you're not able to deliver on that service. And you can just think about it like this. I like to think about it as, even for one of our companies, one of our consulting companies, if someone gets on a call and I can see that we can really help them out, and they get off that call, I let them get off the call saying, I have to think about it, I have to do this, I have to do that. They might go to another company. That company might charge them more, deliver less results, and now they'll be in a worse position than they were at before. So I feel like I have an obligation to sell because me and Zach both know that when it comes to what niche we're in and the results we have, we're the best in the game at where we're at. And I have an obligation, and that's the same thing you should take. You have an obligation to sell your service and in turn make your offer as good as it can possibly be.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. There's a lot of different things with the offer, but the biggest thing that I've found is just like differentiation. Um, Being different from what else is in the market, figuring out, and the way that you do that is by developing an ICP, right? An ICP is an ideal customer profile, and you got to do market research to develop that. But every person and every avatar is the same, right? They all have a pain point, a desire, and whatever your solution does to take them from that pain point to that desire, right? You are the solution. You are the glue in between those two pieces to take them to that desire. When you're selling stuff, you got to be able to sell that vacation. You probably heard that term before. It's basically selling them a transformation. At the end of the day, your offer is not about the product or the service. You're not selling video editing. You're selling the ability to gain more revenue through the views that the video editing brings, right? That's the thing that you really need to sell is what makes you different. It's the selling of the transformation, not the selling of the actual product itself. Um, and I mean, there's so many different examples of this. Like even, one of our old clients was fitness coach is the same thing. He had something that made him different, but at first when he came into our business, he didn't have anything that made him different. He was just a fitness coach. Every fitness coach sells the same thing. They all sell, hey, I'll help you get in shape. Okay, at least they're selling a transformation, but they're all selling the exact same transformation. They're selling, hey, I'll help you get in shape. It's not even niched down to, hey, I'll help you lose weight or gain muscle. Like, it's literally just, I'll help you get in better shape than where you are right now. It's like, I can get in better shape than I am right now just by like eating right or like going to the gym or doing like the most basic shit. So, and I mean, that client was able to scale pretty well after we fixed these problems. Like, he had a specific disease that he'd been able to overcome or help his situation with through fitness. And so he was selling to those people specifically, right? Instead of selling to, just the general population and going mass market, that's where most people mess up. They try to sell mass market way too early. Don't try to sell mass market when you're first starting out, like niche down to a
And
specific thing.
and like, you also need to extrapolate as much as you can out of your current TAM. If I mean, you can't if the TAM of your market is, let's say, 100,000 people, right? And you only sell or reach, let's say, 1,000 of them, and then you say, okay, we need to scale up, we need to go broad market, we need to go broader. Well, you miss 99,000 people that you can't neglect, and that's a sign
Yeah.
of going to real. You need to know what the TAM of your market is, and you need to be pretty damn close to that number before you even think about going broad. Also, going back a little bit on what Zach said about not selling all the ins and outs of what you do and actually selling the vacation.
Hmm.
Trust me, I know how hard it is because you are the creator of your products. You poured your all into it. It's so hard not to tell them let all the passion you have out and saying, oh, we can do this and this. Oh, but we can also do this and this and this. That's where you get the most friction from your, you know,
Hmm.
customers is when you just spiel on about what you offer instead of actually talking about the vacation like Zach said before.
Hmm. Yeah, and I mean, it's also just about how you position your offer in the market, right? If you're not able to answer like who your people are, what they need, who you are, what you deliver, and why you're special, different, or the one, if you're not able to answer those 5 questions, like you're not going to be as very successful with what you do. You need to be able to, and when I say that, and there's going to be that one dork that's listening to this that's like, well, I've scaled up to 50K a month. Okay, but why haven't you scaled up to 100K a month? Why haven't you scaled up to 500K a month? Oh, I'm at 500K a month. Why haven't you scaled up to a mil a month? Right? There's always something that will hold you back. And so, especially when you're first starting out, you need to position yourself in a very specific sector of the market. And you need to look at, really where you're at, what industry you're in, but niche it down to a vertical and then niche it down to the segment of that vertical, right? So, for example, we have the industry, which is the full thing, we got the vertical, and there's the segment, which is a part of the vertical, right? If you can niche it down as much as possible and really go after a smaller group of people, your TAM doesn't always need to be so huge. If you can go down to a very specific TAM from the start, especially, you're going to be able to scale up faster because your name's going to get known a lot quicker. Um, and so that's one of the things of like positioning in a market. The reason we've been able to be so successful with influencers, and the reason it's a lot easy, or it's pretty easy with influencers, it's still hard, but the reason it's easier with influencers is because they're already painted as some authority figure, right? They already have the followers, they already have those things. Now, the beauty of having a smaller company and not being an influencer is even if you don't have the 100,000 people, you can take 1,000 people and turn those into true fans instead of just turning them into followers. Followers don't really matter at the end of the day. It's those people who are true fans who will buy any offer that you put out there. Those are the people that you want in your audience. And that really like, it's a huge portion of it. After you get your service, you can bundle it, you can package it however you want. And I think that's super important. But if you don't have those true fans from the organic side or from the paid media side, if you don't have a great organic fan base, you should go into paid ads. I like pay to play. It's a lot more consistent. So if you're not, able to put your attention into those, in theory, 1,000 true fans that you can get in your market, and that number changes for everybody. But if you can build those true fans in your market through your content or through whatever, even if it's just connections, you'll be able to go to a much higher level than the people who have 100,000 lukewarm followers. Um, but yeah,
And also, going on paid ads, organic, a lot of people ask, oh, which one should I do? Do both. Everyone asks, what should I do? No one says do both. Think about it like this. Let's say, there's three main acquisition channels, right? And you're listening to everyone, you're going all into one, and you're neglecting the other two. That's where the growth will come to a halt because you can only master one thing for so long. Now, there are, better acquisition channels than others, but you shouldn't be neglecting any of them. You should be using every acquisition channel you can to get people to buy your stuff. And, you might say, oh, well, posting on this platform this many times per week and this platform this many times a week and doing ads and testing ad creatives and testing landing pages and testing offers, that sounds like a lot. Well, it is. It's not supposed to be this 4-hour work week of a solopreneur where you just work for 4 hours a week and you make 100K a month. It's not that easy. So yes, organic can work. Yes, paid ads can work. But both of them can work, and you should be doing both of them at all times. Even if one is outperforming the other, you should always try and do all of them and try and master all of them to the best of your abilities.
yeah, and I mean, organic content's going to help your paid content. And back to what you said a second ago about, well, it's hard to do all these things. Well, how can I do all of these things and still manage? Won't doing paid ads take my attention away from organic? Yeah, it probably will. The way you do that is hiring a good team. And we're going to come back to team building in a minute. But the way that you actually do that is by hiring a team, whether that be VAs that are $3 an hour VAs from the Philippines. That's where we go typically. We go to onlinejobs.ph. You can Google it. And that's going to be the number one spot to get, Filipino VAs for $3 an hour. Besides, obviously, I have a VA pipeline as well. So if you need a VA, just DM me on Instagram. I can hook you up with someone. But being able to have a really good VA or a really good assistant or a really good person to help you out once you hit capacity. This is not something that you should do when you're at 2K a month and you're just starting out and you're working 4-hour work week and you're like, oh, well, I'm working already 5 hours and I'm only supposed to work 4 hours because that's what the book said so. That's what a lot of y'all do. And that's why most of you fail is because you're not willing to do the work. And I get that you can't preach the do the work message. It's not selling the dream. It's not concurrent with, influential marketing. But if you are not actually doing the work that's required first, you're not going to know how to train up the assistant. Now, that being said, after you've done the work and got to the point where you need to get an assistant, first place to go is onlinejobs.ph or hit me up on Instagram. I can get you somebody and I can get you a VA. But getting a VA is going to be huge for just outsourcing that time and buying back your time so that you're actually able to scale. Time, if that's your bottleneck, then you need to hire people. Whether that be salespeople, whether that be VAs, whatever it may be, you need to hire people at that point. You can hire content agencies, you can hire ads agencies. Those are the things that is typically the bottleneck for 99% of the people. If paid ads or organic is your bottleneck, you shouldn't hire that out. You should be hiring out the other things that are taking up time but not producing the greatest result. You should be putting all of your attention into those first things. Honestly, until you're at like 50K a month, you probably shouldn't outsource media buying. And if you're going to outsource it, don't hire some big ads agency. I've worked with some of the biggest ads agencies in the world.
The biggest.
Literally the biggest. And it's not a good experience. Like, hire a media buyer. First, figure out how to do it on your own, right? If you've never run ads, don't just go out and hire a media buyer because it's easy. Yes, Facebook Ads Manager is complicated. Look up on Google, go to Google search, type in Meta Blueprint. It's going to give you pretty much everything that you need to know about ads. It's a free course from Facebook that they'll give you all the compliance guidelines, all the ads guidelines, everything like that. Start on Facebook, start with Instagram and Facebook ads, start there, right? That's the number one place that you can run ads right now. That's the number one place to start in the paid ads world. Don't outsource it until you know how to do it yourself, and then hire a VA to do it. Because instead of paying someone $3,000, $4,000 for a month to do this kind of stuff, which we paid what, like $3,000 a month? I don't know, something like that. We paid $3,000 a month plus ad spend, plus we were spending $100 a day, and we got 0 results. When we did it ourselves, we actually got results with it. So don't outsource the core components of your business, which is marketing and sales, to start until those become a true bottleneck. Media buying is a huge one where people are just like, oh, Facebook Ads Manager is just way too complicated. Let me outsource it. It's not worth it. Same with organic content, right? Same with outbound. That's another thing. Everyone tries to build their funnel around outbound, around cold DMs especially. It's a huge, huge thing that I see everyone fuck up. People try to build their entire business around cold DMs, and then they hire other people to do it before they've done it themselves. All right, if you've been doing it yourself and time is a constraint and you don't have any time to do any of this shit, hire it out for sure. But like, if you're at a point where you don't have any clients and you're just sitting around building your delivery systems or building your back end and that kind of stuff, and you don't have any clients, or you have 5K a month in clients, only 10K a month in clients, like, you really need to be doing outreach. That's the highest leverage thing that you can be doing.
And on top of that, there's 2 things I want to touch on. One, on the opposite end of that, don't be grinding 24 hours a day. Mm-hmm. That's not what you want to do. We've had clients in the past that have done everything themselves. They've done the DM setting, they've done the closing, they've done the consulting, mm-hmm. they've done the marketing, and they're working 18 hours a day, and they're burnt out. And the minute someone comes in and gets 1% less results, they freak out and fire them. So if you're doing everything, outsource things. Don't be that guy who says, I'm the best at everything, I'm going to run everything myself. It's not going to work out in the long term. And even though I don't like the word burnout, it's going to fucking happen if you're doing everything yourself and you're working 18, 20-hour days. It's just math.
Inevitable.
It's math. So, once you're there, outsource some things.
Yeah, I mean, if your bottleneck is time, outsource. Like, And a lot of people are scared to outsource.
Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah.
I remember what I was going to say. A little pause there. So there's certain things there are certain strategies you can implement to take some things off of your hands. For example, in multiple of our companies, we have AI systems in place that can take everything off of our plate that are relatively cheap, and it's not a person, so it can't fuck up because we've tested it out so many times. We have those systems in place. So, for example, we can put out 200 pieces of content per week within just 3 hours of work.
Yeah.
Most people would take them 10, 15, maybe even 20 hours to put out that much content. We can do it. We can do it. We have it all automated. So there's certain things that you can automate and then you should automate. But it goes to the same thing. We also know people who've gotten rid of their whole team and automate everything. You don't want to do that either. So you never want to be on one side of the spectrum. You want to be right in the middle. Because if you're not doing something enough or you're overdoing it, they're both the same problem. You have a problem. So yeah.
Yeah, and it's hard to find that sweet spot sometimes, but theoretically, you want to be outsourcing anything that's a lower leverage. And what does that mean? How do you calculate if something's high leverage or not, right? So what my formula for that is you're going to take your entire yearly salary, your income for the year. So basically revenue minus expenses, not including taxes, right? So your, in theory, profit, right? You want to take that number divided by 2,000. If you're making, $100,000 per year or $500,000 a year, whatever that number is, just say 100,000 and we divide it by 2,000, that's going to be your hourly rate, right? If something is lower than your hourly rate, you should outsource it. If you're making $100 an hour and you can pay someone $3 an hour to do something or $50 an hour to do something, $75 an hour to do something, it's worth it. But the key is making that $100 an hour, right? Most people don't actually do that. They make realistically $10, $15, $20 an hour, and they're trying to outsource tasks for, to say media buyers for $500 an hour. I get it if it's a new skill and you want to learn, okay, cool, but it's not worth it. It'd be easier and higher leverage for you to just learn the task. So when you're hiring, you want to focus on buying back your time, and a huge proponent of that is being able to automate and buy back other people's time. Whether that be with AI, with Make.com, with Zapier, just automating things, back-end systems. Back-end's huge purely because it's almost always going to be more accurate than a human. And it's going to save you a lot more time than a human, especially if you have repetitive tasks.
I mean, you front load the work to save the time long term. So that front load, it's a pain. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of work. But you do that to save yourself hundreds, I'm not even kidding about this, hundreds of hours in the future from just spending 10 hours on the front load of it.
Yeah, it compounds. Like, software is one of the highest leverage things that you can do just because it compounds infinitely. And so if you're able to build out a really solid tech stack where you have different things, whether it be software or whatever, big mistake that I make, I'm a tech guy, he's more of a sales guy. It's kind of how we are great business partners. Purely because I'm super tech focused, he's super how do we build the marketing systems and everything like that on the front end to make things work. So big thing that I have is just making things look aesthetic, making software that looks nice, but it's not all about looking nice, it's about functionality over everything. So focus on the functionality. It's probably the biggest tip in tech that I can give you, is just focus on what's actually functional and what's actually bringing an ROI on your time. So Make.com is a huge thing that I use for just about everything, like our onboarding processes, all of our processes on that. And we use Go High Level for probably 80% of our business runs through Go High Level. There's certain things that work better in other platforms. Calendar integrations, Calendly sometimes works better. Slack automations, usually better in Make.com than in High Level. But big things in High Level that we use specifically is the automations to set up the follow-ups before the call, the no-show processes, everything like that. That's basically saved our whole business.
Yeah, I mean, I know people who they get their closer or setter to text if let's say, you have something high ticket and you're getting on a call with them, they have the setter or closer text them one time before the call, asking if they're still good for the call. Me and Zach recently learned something from one of our mentors who does multiple 8 figures per year, and he was saying that before a prospect shows up to the call, they need to see 15 pieces of content and they need to get touched 8 times a day. So this can be email, SMS. With automation, you don't have to do all that manually. You can set up automations to do all the touch points by itself. So that's a huge thing you can automate right from the bat to save you a ton of time in the future. But along with the sales process, there are certain things we like to add in. Even, we do this for a bunch of our clients. If it's a high ticket offer, really doesn't matter the offer, but specifically for high ticket offers, we will have, our client take a screenshot of a testimonial and we'll package that in an automation and say they just got this text this morning from another client to get them excited for their call, and more importantly to see, this guy knows what he's talking about. With your sales process, your main points are, one, to get the person to show up. If you're reaching out to them one time, they still might show up, but if you're reaching out to them 8, 10, 12, 16 times, it's simply just math. Everything in business is math. There's a higher likelihood of them showing up. And you might think, oh, what if they get annoyed? They're not going to get annoyed if you're doing it in the right way. There's a right and wrong way to do, have your sales process. But the first goal is to make them show up to the call. The second goal is to have them ping you as an authority figure before they either buy your thing or get on the call. And the third, I just said show up, authority. I'm blanking.
Frame.
Yes, frame.
Yeah.
This kind of goes along with authority. It's just in a different section of it. But they need to frame you in the right way. They need to get on the call, and especially if you have a closer or if they're just going on a website, even. Let's say there's no closer, even just on a website. Your company or you or whatever product or service you offer, it needs to be framed in the right way. If you're not framed the right way, one, everything trickles down. If you're not framed the right way, it's going to be a lot harder to close deals. And in turn, you're not going to make a lot of money, and in turn, you're not going to help a lot of people. Again, it goes back to the obligation thing. Everything trickles down. So you need to be framed the right way if you want to, make the most amount of money you can, help your team, and overall get the best service you can to as many people as possible.
Yeah, I agree. And another thing, back to like the no-show processes and that, if they're annoyed, that's good. Like, they should be annoyed, because if they're annoyed, they're thinking about, damn, this dude's sending me so much stuff before this call. They're really committed. They really, they committed to me. Maybe I should commit to showing up to the call. And again, it's a thing of just being like top of mind. People book calls so many times and just completely forget about them. Even like earlier today, I booked in a call with like a company. Granted, they showed up an hour late to the call. Like, not like they booked it in the wrong time or anything like that. They just like didn't show up until an hour after. And then he's like, oh, can you reschedule, bro? I'm like, nah. But like, I pretty much forgot about that call because they had like no emails. They had no process on the front end. They had nothing. So you need to make sure that you can take that point out of the problem, out of the equation. Like, you need to be hammering people with sales assets. And part of that comes down to your funnel too, how they're framed at the front. Because how they're framed when they get on the call also depends on how they get framed through your funnel. Funnel's super important. Like, even just like having the first landing page, making them fill out an application, making them fill out certain piece of information that you need, getting their contact information in a proper way, asking questions, even on the calendar. Like, a lot of clients surprisingly get it pretty confused on the calendar side. They don't know what questions to put on the calendar. Should they just put name and email? Should they put name, phone, email? Should they put name, phone, email, where you're from? Why should I let you have a call? Like, there's so many different variations of that. There's a bunch of different ways to go about that on the calendar side, but making sure that your funnel is just like on lock is the most important part. And like actually tracking. A lot of things come down to just doing the math. Like, your funnel conversions. Hopped on a call the other day with a dude that wanted consulting. I was like, yo, what's your close rate? He's like, oh, I don't know, it's probably around 30%. I said, probably around 30%? He said, yeah, not 100% sure. We don't really track that. Why not? If you're not doing the math, you can't make accurate decisions, right? You should be making decisions off of data, not off of thought, because your brain's always going to do you wrong. Data never lies, except for when it does. But
Yeah, I mean, that's a funny point. Um, Even with, let's say you have a home service business and you have door to door reps. We personally know a company that thought their door to door reps were doing 100 knocks per day, and it turns out their reps were only doing 30 knocks per day, and
yeah,
it took them 2 months to figure that out. So you need to be tracking everything to a T. That's super important. Not a lot of people do it, and that's something that slips through the cracks because it doesn't seem like a huge thing. Oh well, I mean, if I'm not tracking everything in depth, it won't harm me that much. Well, it will, and it's because you don't have the accurate data. Um,
yeah. And I think the key of tracking is just making the system easy to use and streamlined. Like, don't overcomplicate your systems. Make it as easy as possible to use and start out with your MVP, your minimum viable product, right? Build it as if it's a software company. We have like multiple different softwares that are custom built softwares that we just use internally for our sales team alone. We don't license it out to anybody. We don't give it to any of our clients. It's purely just for us, right? We're not selling it in any way. It's purely just for us internally. We build out whole softwares. It costs us a lot of money to build and a lot of time. Why? Because it streamlines the system. It makes it easier to track and gives us better data. It's like ads, for instance. If you're not sending the right data back to your Pixel, Pixel doesn't know who to target. So if you're not sending the right data back to your, marketing director or yourself, if you are the marketing director, if you're not able to look at that data and reference that data, whether it's in marketing and sales and delivery or in team building, you can't get accurate data. You can't make accurate decisions. So just being as accurate as possible. And that's really where it comes into the team side. Number one thing that A players in a team are looking for is data. That, we can tell, like even we've been hiring cold callers for the past few days. We're running up a huge cold call scheme behind the scenes. And the biggest thing that we found is that the people who are actually becoming successful and doing good with the company are asking us a lot of questions about data. They're asking, so what's your current close rate? So what's your no-show rate? So how many people have you booked in? How many dials are people usually doing? What's the conversion rate on the funnel? What do the ads look like? What are the spend in ads? They're not asking, they're not asking dumbass questions, right? They're not asking what soccer team do you like? They're asking, what is the best piece of data? And sometimes it's good to ask what soccer team or ask some dumbass question so that you can get an idea or like a frame of who they are as a person. But the people who ask about data are typically the ones that perform the best and are the greatest A players. They know their stuff, and you can tell when someone knows their stuff.
yes, absolutely. And a big red flag when someone isn't an A player is when you bring them onto the team, they perform well in the beginning. Overall, with the team, especially a sales team, let's say, right? You have this spark. I like to think of it as you have this spark that you light, right? And the longer that spark continues to grow or stay the same, the longer they're going to stay with you. There's only a certain amount of time period that people will go through when that spark is dim lit. It's dead and there's no spark, and they have to continue to push through. No matter what the character of the person is, there is a certain time period they're just going to give up. And guess what? It's not their fault. It's your fault for hiring them in the first place and your whole process of after you hired them, what happened then. And speaking about A players, a big red flag or a big sign of whether someone is an A player or not is that they start to get good results and then they die off and you have to threaten them for them to get good results again. Now, obviously, you could say that as, oh, well, yeah, but I just have to throw a little bit of pressure on them. But you shouldn't have to be pressuring, threatening these people to get you good results. A players get you good results on autopilot, and more importantly than that, they ask you questions. If you have a team member that just sits there and waits for you to contact them, you want your team members to be fucking spamming you all day long. That first week that you hire them, you want them to be asking you so many fucking questions. Don't just sit back. That first week, it's the same thing as automations. The first week of hiring someone, it's a long-term investment. If they're an A player, you take that first week, you devote so much time to train them up and getting every piece in order or out of the way. And after that first week, it doesn't become passive, but it's a long-term investment. That person, if they are properly trained the first week, they will make you a ridiculous amount of money. And then another thing, another huge thing, is how your team views you. I've made this mistake in the past of being too friendly to my team. And yes, you don't want to be a dickhead to people, right? You don't want to be terrible for your team and make them hate working with you, right? But you also don't want to have them think of you as a friend, because then you have no authority. And this is gonna sound bad. I know it's gonna sound bad, but you are here. Your team is here. They're not above you. You are in charge of them for a reason, right? So you have to find, and everything in business is about finding that sweet spot, but you have to find that sweet spot of not being too nice, but not making them hate your fucking guts either. But you want to lean a little bit more towards that side. And I'll bring up a good example. I know this isn't business, but I'm sure all of you know who Michael Jordan is. All of his teammates fucking hated his guts. But guess what? He wanted to win so badly. He was so competitive. He pushed everyone to their fucking limits. And everyone absolutely hated him. But guess what? They won. Now, would you rather have a few people be, oh, you're so mean? Or would you rather make $100K a month? And more importantly, make them more money, right? You want to push them not out of, I want more money for myself. You want to push them for, I want you to make more money than myself. And that's how you should always frame it. Whenever you up the KPIs in your company, whenever you ask for more, don't come at it from, we need to get to $1 million this month. We need to get to this amount per month. Come at it from, I need you to make more money. You said your goals up here, and this is in the beginning of when you hire them. You need to ask, they need to ask you data-driven questions. You need to give them those answers. But you also need to know them as a person, know their long-term and short-term goals. And then another thing, a little bit off topic, but if someone goes to you and they say they're an entrepreneur, they're not a fucking A player. You want people on your team who want to be an employee. Obviously, they might want to go from a setter to a closer to a sales manager, but you don't want a fucking entrepreneur.
You want an entrepreneur, but you don't
Exactly.
want an entrepreneur. Someone's trying to start their own thing. They're never, like, I've never seen anyone be successful when they're trying to start their own thing at the same time. You want them to be dialed in. Like, and again, back to what you said real quick on, like, you are here and they are here. That's not because you're pushing them down. It's a mistake I see a lot. A lot of people will say, hey, I'm going to just, like, we start here and I'm going to push you down so that you're down here and I'm up here. It's not how you do it. You go up and you're not pushing them down. You're pulling them up to your level, right? You have to think of this as you are stepping up to a leadership position. That's how entrepreneurship works. You step up, and your team members have to step up with you. Your clients sometimes have to step up with you. But you have to be that lead. You have to show that you have knowledge that they don't have, so you can help them elevate to your level and above eventually, so that they can take over certain sectors, certain divisions of your company, so that they know more than you. Because sometimes they do. Sometimes a director of marketing, for instance, should know more than you in that specific field, in marketing. But you should be able to lead them in still a way. And the reason that, like, there's certain things that I don't know fucking jack shit about, but I'm still able to lead a person in that spot because I have the knowledge of how that side and that department of the business is run, right? So that's just kind of a little bit on team building, but you have to be a leader.
Yeah, and on top of that, I want to go into, again, this video is off of mistakes we've made, and we're sharing them with you, because when we were making these mistakes, we were making no money. When we fixed these mistakes, we were making a lot of money. So this is a whole video about what we fucked up on, and we don't want you to fuck up on. But another big thing with team is you're not in the business to give people chances. Don't hire someone that's brand new. If someone goes to you and they say, I get this DM, and I'm sure he gets this DM all the time with people saying, oh, well, I don't have any experience, but I've spent $1,000 into my knowledge. First of all, $1,000 isn't anything. And second of all, I don't care about your knowledge. I care about your experience. But more importantly than that, we would rather have someone, let's say a cold caller, for example, right? Perfect cold caller, or let's say your business, you have door knockers, right? Very similar fields. I'd much rather have someone who has, let's say we have two people, right? We have someone with 5 years of experience and we have someone with a year of experience. Let's say the person with 5 years of experience, let's say they only want to make $50 a day and they have a huge ego. They know better than everyone else. And, they want some quick cash. Let's say the person with a year of experience, let's say that person, wants to, I tell them to do $100 a day. They say they want to do $200 a day, $200 per day. And they actually do that. On top of that, they're always asking me for more things to do. They want to do more things. They're workaholic. They don't give up. After 100, or let's say after they go and knock 50 doors and none of them answer, they don't care. They keep it pushing. They keep it moving. I'd much rather have the person with a year of experience because I personally would much rather train someone up who has that drive rather than someone who has a drive who has a huge ego, and it's like, I don't even want to work with that. But again, that year person, the year of experience, that's a sweet spot. If someone could have 1 month of experience, zero experience, and they could say they're the hardest worker in the room, they're a great listener, it doesn't matter. You're not in the business of giving chances. So don't go too high. Don't go with the most experience, but don't go with no experience. You want to find that sweet spot of someone who still has a drive, but still has experience and who's still going to make you a lot of money.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, those are the biggest lessons, honestly. I think that's pretty much all that we had to cover. Getting to 100K a month, it's a big number. Like, 100K a month is one of the most rewarding points, but you have to understand that it's all about who you are as a person more than who your business is. If you are the type of person that believes that you can get to 100K a month, you have the drive and the desire, the sheer desire to just have like determination and discipline to get to that point, you will get to that point. It might take longer than you expect, might take shorter than you expect, it might be harder than you expect, might be easier than you expect. But if you're willing to push forward until you get to that goal, if you're willing to keep on going through, the unknown to get to the point where you are where you want to be at, you will get there.
Absolutely. And I want to add one thing onto that. Everyone, so I know, combined we know hundreds of millionaires personally that we talk to, on a weekly or daily basis. And we even know a few billionaires. And there's a common theme between all of them. It's that they've all taken a huge risk or huge risks, right? So, I mean, just for example, last year, me and Zach alone spent upwards of 6 figures just in our knowledge because we were already at a good level, but we weren't satisfied. We're never going to be satisfied. But we put so much money into education, right? And yes, that was a risk. We were well aware of that. Some of the things we got into didn't have a good ROI. The example you gave earlier, the ad agency, it was fucking terrible. It was the worst experience of our life. We lost a lot of money. We just took it as a learning lesson and moved forward. We've had a company that we scaled up to 30K a month relatively quickly, and we shut it down to go into a different thing, which was a huge risk. And the first month we lost a lot of money, but guess what? We continued to push it. In the second month, we had our best month ever in business. So there's going to be a time where you're going to have to take a huge risk, a huge leap of faith. And if you don't have that confidence that Zach talked about, if you don't have the true belief in yourself, that will make you crumble under the pressure, and you'll become like 99.999% of business owners out there who reach 10, 20, 30, 40, 50K 1 month and then just die off because the pressure gets too much for them.
Yeah, and I mean, if you want to be a top 1% entrepreneur, it all comes down to doing the things that the 99% aren't willing to do, right? And so if you really want to go to that next level, if you want to really elevate your business, sometimes you have to invest in yourself. Sometimes you have to gain knowledge from people who are ahead of you. And sometimes you have to look at that ladder of maybe I'm not up here, maybe I'm down here and I still have something to learn and I need a leader to lead me and pull me up, right? And so if that's something that you need, if you want our help or if you want advice on any of this, feel free to DM me on Instagram and hit me up, or just go ahead and book in a call. Honestly, just book in a call, the link below. And if you're willing to, invest in yourself, you're willing to go to that next level. It's not for everyone. Like I said, the purpose of this video is not to, have a get rich quick scheme or anything like that. It's for the people who truly want it, right? So honestly, this video, when we made it, we were more in the mindset of how do we get rid of the people we don't want than how do we get the people that we do, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that are going to be hard in this journey. It's not going to be easy, but if you have someone who's gone where you want to go and you can look at them and see where they're at or where they were at, where they're at now, and how they got there, that's how you're going to make it to that next level. So if that's something you're interested in, if you're interested in scaling up to over 100K a month, go ahead and book in a call at the link in the description. I'll be happy to help you out and give you some advice and some knowledge, and then see where you're at and make you a custom game plan and see what we can do for you. So if that's something you're interested in, go down, click the link in the description, and book in a call, and I look forward to seeing you then.